After the mass murder of spa employees in Atlanta last month and amid a surge in anti-Asian hate across the country, Americans of Asian descent banded together in protest and grief. Among them were some of the tens of thousands of Americans adopted from China, South Korea and other Asian countries. Raised in many cases by white parents in largely white communities, they have a unique perspective on race and racism in America, and one that is all too often overlooked. In light of the horrific events in Georgia and around the country during this pandemic, these people have been wondering where they fit in, said Iris Chin Ponte, a professor at Lesley University and a specialist in early education, who has been leading adoptee support groups for more than 20 years. McKee, a professor at Grand Valley State University in Michigan, and author of a book about Korean adoption and a Korean adoptee herself, said this community is trying to figure out what does this mean in terms of building coalition with other Asian Americans. What happens when my parents don't recognize that I'm a person of color? As the white father of an adopted Korean daughter, I know some of the issues that surround international and transracial adoption. As a newspaper reporter, I'm in a position to provide them with a bit of a public voice. I talked to more than a dozen adoptees from South Korea and other Asian countries. One of them, Zhu Xi Caruso, is a family friend who suggested this story. They described a number of shared experiences: growing up in nearly all white schools and communities, parents who had no experience or understanding of racism, a sense of loss for their biological families and ethnic culture, and a desire to express their outrage over anti-Asian hate from their own unique perspective. Here are their words. Zhu Xi Caruso, 22, attended Stop Asian Hate rallies in her hometown of Boston 2 days after the Atlanta killings. Asian people from all walks of life spoke, along with speakers from Black Lives Matter. But I noticed there were no adoptees speaking up. I realized Asian adoptees do have a say. So she took a turn at the microphone, too. Questions of identity make it difficult for adoptees to move into this particular spotlight, she said. You feel like you don't belong in the Asian community, but you don't belong in the white community your parents raised you in either, Caruso said. Caruso was adopted from China and is now a student at the Massachusetts College of Art and Design. Her activism has been empowering, Caruso said, but it has also brought up feelings of grief and loss of heritage. People, at the rallies, were saying, I came out for my parents, I came out for my grandparents. It made me kind of sad. I want to know who my birth parents are. She was raised by 2 white parents. Her mother, she said, made sure to connect her with Chinese culture through videos, books and support groups with other adopted kids.